Welcome back, everyone. This is a high-level replay, and we're going to be looking at how to learn from the best. Originally, this was going to be how to learn from the pros while they play their pub games, but I actually thought, there's something I want to let everyone know, which is sometimes watching the pros play their pubs is not going to be the best thing for you. This is BZM over here on Lesh. This is iNSaNiA on Tinker. Most of you probably know that iNSaNiA has already won a TI championship, and so he doesn't have anything to prove in these pub games. This is where he can come to experiment, try out new things. They're not necessarily going to be optimized, and so you don't want to copy everything that a player like iNSaNiA wants to do one-to-one. Not necessarily anyways. This player here, I just quickly took a look at his profile. He's got a 66% win rate. He wins 2/3 of his games, so we can call him a pub star. And sometimes it's better to learn from the pub stars, unless you've got some greater aspirations to go pro. Well, even if you do, actually, this is the type of player who you want to model yourself after, because he is trying his hardest when he goes against other pros in these games. So we're going to take a look at a few of the players and what they do. In particular, I'm very intrigued to see how the Storm Spirit plays. So many things that you can take in as you watch these better players. You're going to be taking a look at their starting items, how they move at the start of the game. Here you can see that there's no time wasted. Both teams are smoking out to get a position on the map, to get some wards out, just to ensure that they have the type of start that is more in their control. The thing that pros and good players always try to do is keep the game as much under their control as possible. Now, other things that we're going to be taking a look at and things that you want to keep in mind as you watch pro players and better players, take a look at their last hits. See how they're doing as they last hit in the lane. Take a look at what their 10-minute last hit marker is. And especially if you're a carry player or a mid player with a hero that needs a lot of farm, let's say you're playing maybe a Shadow Fiend mid, you want to have those types of high-level last-hit trackers in mind so you can try to get that much farm for yourself as well. So a 10-minute timer to set your standard I find is pretty useful. But beyond that, you don't need to keep on doing 10-minute intervals. You can see when that carry player starts hitting 10 CS per minute, 10 creeps per minute. And you want to try to hit that threshold around the same time that they do. Also, more important than the actual number of creeps is what their build is and the rough item timings. So if you have this Magnus as a core right here, and he wants to get an Echo Saber and a couple of other items like that, when is he getting the Echo Saber? Make a note of that and try to do that in your own games as well. So let's take a look at, to me, one of the most interesting matchups here, Pub Star versus a pro player in the mid lane. Excellent body blocking by both. The Pub Star did a little bit better today. And I'll point out a couple of things that you want to be paying attention to. The lane and the creep management. What did BZM just do over here? He started with a Lightning Storm. So why did he cast the Lightning Storm? Why did he want to weaken all the creeps to begin with? These are questions that you can ask yourself. Hopefully, you make note of these little things. And then you ask the question, and then you try to come up with the answer on your own. If it's not readily obvious to you, just keep on watching what happens as a couple of lanes pass through the mid lane here. Maybe in this instance with BZM on Lesh, it's a way for him to just try to secure a couple of last hits right away. He might have a good timing where he goes Lightning Storm auto attack, and then he continues to press the creeps into the tower. Creeps die under here, and eventually the wave might come back towards him. Just take a look at what the pro players do, what the good players do, and see what the effects are. And if you ever have to ask anybody, there's resources online where you can ask those questions as well. All right. Also very interesting to see how would somebody like the Storm Spirit play against it. And another thing that I highly advise is pick one of these two players. Don't watch the game like I'm doing right now. Go into the player perspective and take a look at their mouse movements, how often they click, where they position, are they stopping and starting their attacks, etc. So we're going to watch the Storm Spirit here. You're also looking for the camera movement. So this guy's got very comfortable camera movement. You see also his cursor is not going to the edge of the screen for a screen drag. So maybe he has camera movement on his middle mouse button, his scroll wheel, because look, he only moved his cursor here, not to the edge of the screen again, and he was able to shift the camera like that. And then back up here, he had the cursor around here, not on the edge of the screen. He went like that, and the camera shifted. So for this particular player, he doesn't use screen drag. I never upgraded from screen drag to something else, but you know what? Custom hotkeys, unique hotkeys, unique camera controls, those are all things that you might want to get comfortable with if you're looking to optimize your play. And I actually do recommend it, especially as a mid player, because laning is so important over here. Can you eke out more last hits? Can you get a few more denies? Especially if you're playing heroes like Storm Spirit, where those extra little bits of EXP can lead to a faster level 6, faster bottle. You may as well practice with every advantage that you could put under your belt. There's another something that you guys could take a look at. When does a high-level player want to regen their HP? When do they start chewing an Iron Branch? Pretty much every tango they consume is going to be with an Iron Branch. And you see here he waited till he was about 1/3 HP. He knows before he gets to full HP again, he'll take a little bit more damage. So for him, this is just a threshold that he feels comfortable at. Why? Well, Leshrac, if he happens to hit a Split Earth and a Lightning Storm, that's already a significant amount of damage, and all it takes is one more hero roaming, for example, the Bounty Hunter, and that would be the end of Storm Spirit. So for him, he's decided 2/3 of his HP is as low as he needs to go. There's a lot that you can learn here, right? At these early levels, he's not too concerned about trading. That's one of the things that happens in these one-on-one matchups. How often do you trade HP? How often do you search for auto attacks? And in this particular case, he's not too concerned about it. It's more about last hitting and denying it. Why? Because Storm doesn't have the same range as Leshrac. And so pretty much any time you're trying to enter auto attack range against Lesh, he's already going to have 1 or 2 auto attacks on you. And it's not as simple as Storm starts walking up, Leshrac stands still, and he gets an auto attack. No, Leshrac in the meantime is going to kite backwards, fire another auto, kite a little further back, fire another auto, and then whenever Storm bails on that idea, Leshrac moves in, and again, another free auto attack. So you see here, a very high-level Storm Spirit player. He's got an idea for how to play his hero. He's going to maintain a safe distance. Just keep on focusing on those last hits and denies. No need to get into anything like trying to kill, especially a pro player. No need to try to kill a pro player at an early level. So here, Leshrac also can't get into this auto attack trade because there's no buffer. There's no barrier. He would be tanking the creep damage while trading autos with Storm too. So Storm recognizing that there's no shield over here, and he decides to press the advantage by pouring on autos. That's already quite a bit of time taking a look at these guys. I'm sure you don't just want me to focus on the mid lane, so let's take a look at what a high-level support does. So we are back in the replay now, and we're going to be taking a look at iNSaNiA playing the support Tinker. I have no experience playing Tinker since he's had this repair bots tweak. I used to play him mid, but this is obviously much different. So if you want to learn how to play Tinker, if you want to learn how to play a particular hero, you're starting to take a look at things like how do they play the lane? How much are they partnered with their carry? Are they trying to get more trades off? Are they trying to use spells to harass? Or are they saving their mana for later levels? You should have all of these questions in your mind, and you're looking for answers when you're watching the best players on these heroes. All right, so March of the Machines. We're not too concerned about what happens to the creep wave here. Darkseer's got ion shells, and so the creeps are going to be losing a lot of HP anyways. I don't know if Tinker was picked after the Darkseer, but it's nice to be able to trade repair bot creep damage with ion shell creep damage. And Magnus, in the meantime, he's just going to really focus hard on last hits and denies as well. When the enemy creeps are about half HP, it looks like he's getting started right away on working them down for the deny. Everybody's basically just using the full brunt of their spells and auto attacks here to try to kill every creep as quickly as possible and to try to keep the lane here somewhat. Now you can see Higher level games are always going to be having shenanigans with creep pulls. It's interesting to see how safe lane support is going to be countering that. And so we just see a pull for a pull. iNSaNiA has made the decision to try to get the creeps to link up. Now, why do creep pulls happen in the first place? Honestly, this is something that started happening after I quit playing ranked. But the general idea is that the lane matchup might not be in your favor. It might not be an easy way to get a lot of last hits. The enemies might be getting too many denies, which you can see here. Magnus already has 3. And so for the offlaner, it is beneficial to not have a contest over here. It's easier to take the creep wave from where it's vulnerable up here, pull it around. The enemies, yes, they're going to get a free creep wave as well, but it's free in quotations. It's going to go under the tower unless they tank it out in the middle of the wave. So either they're trading HP to get their last hits, or they're having to fight with the tower damage to try to secure them. In the meantime, the ideal pull for an offlaner is not necessarily under the tower as well. You can make it a little bit safer if you sacrifice your 1 creep wave and then you bring it back to the second over here. Now, this is a complicated subject. Again, not something that I have actually played with too much in ranked. I've messed around with it a little bit, but just for fun, not actually to study it. Anyways, the point is, it's something that gets done by the offlaners to try to get easier last hitting and less denies. And iNSaNiA decides, you know what? I'm not going to let you do that. I will make a creep clash right here. And this position is not all that different from meeting out here in the wave. If you've decided that you've got the stronger lane matchup because you have repair bots anyways, then have the creeps clash somewhere out in the open and just treat it as if you're in the lane anyways. Nice little micro detail over here. iNSaNiA was very careful with where his courier was. I didn't pay too close attention, but he probably had it walk somewhere like this. And then rather than just coming out over here to deliver or over here to deliver his items, because he's versus Bounty Hunter, kept it under the tower and just barely poked it through the tree line, and he walked towards his courier. All right, there's the Bounty Hunter. He doesn't have to send his courier back the long way now. He could send it back to base normally. There's the March of the Machines, again saying, hey, Darkseer, you basically can't lane here. And Waga on the Bounty Hunter was not able to do a second pull. Maybe he decided it's not worth it. So iNSaNiA, basically job done. All right, so take a look at this. Take a look at where he stands, what his concerns are with creep aggro. Does he have the ability to just get off auto attacks for free? And in this melee matchup with him as a ranged support, that's something that he's prioritizing here, clearly. Just keep on piling on auto attacks. Try to keep the enemies low. Magnus is also tanking quite a bit of damage from these ion shells and from hitting the creeps as much as he is. He'll probably have some regeneration coming back. Oh, actually his courier is dead. iNSaNiA, in his head, he's probably going, I just can't let these two have an HP advantage over my mag, otherwise they're going to jump him and kill him. The sentry in lane for the Bounty Hunter, great play. And never leaving the Magnus, just stay with your Magnus and keep on auto-attacking. Sharing the Tango. You saw there that iNSaNiA had 2 sets of Tangos, and so part of the idea there is just keeping the mag healthy. He'll probably give 1, 2, or even 3 Tangos to his Magnus. We are back in the mid lane now, and there's a few things that I want to look at as we close out this replay. One of them is just a little bit of the item build, how it's coming along. You see in this particular matchup against a heavy magic dealer like Leshrac, we have the raindrops on Storm. Those are also nice for the mana regen, so Storm can fire off a few more remnants if he wants to. Take a look at the build as well. If you're playing a matchup like this and you don't think it's a kill that you want to go for, again, getting on top of Leshrac is always a bit of a dangerous idea. You never know if there's a point in Edict or he just stuns you somewhere under the tower, even in the river. And then a stun plus a bit of a slow could be enough for a TP to come in. So Basically, what we're getting at here is that Storm does not have a pre-level 6 kill on his mind. So no points in Electric Vortex, more damage, and more harassment. And then afterwards, I'm really curious to see, when do these first kills start to happen? Is Storm going to get the chance to snowball? What does that look like? And we're going to take a little bit of a look at team fights and team fight positioning as well. Okay, this is something to learn from here. Why bother getting into any kind of dewarding battles, putting your observer out here, and just having it get dewarded by support that comes in? The purpose of this observer right here is just to get Storm to level 6 safely. Doesn't want to get ganked, doesn't want to die. What happens with the 6-minute rune, we'll deal with that later. For now, just try to get the level 6. And so this is just enough to see if any supports are in the area and trying to gank him. It's an interesting ward. I don't know if I would place it right there because it doesn't really give too much high ground. It does give some high ground, not too much. Maybe I would offset it left or right, but again, there's so much that I can learn from these better players as well. So personally, if I want to learn how to play Storm at a high level, I'm really thinking about this observer and why he placed it. And I would continue to study this observer in more detail, but we're going to move on for now. There, it's already paid off though. Sees Jakiro. And he would not have seen that Jakiro without the observer. Very paranoid though. Wow, look. Even a scan over here. So using a lot of resources here just to make sure he gets that safe level 6. And so curious to see what he's going to do at that level 6. Okay. He knows Jakiro's movements. 2 scans. Wow. Actually, I really don't know what is going on with the scans on the minimap. I've seen it go in 3 different areas right now. Confusing. Another replay bug, I guess. Okay, pinging out that Jakiro was there to his teammates. But now we've got some help. And now Storm has level 6. Good to go. He knows that he has the numbers advantage from his teammates, his supports in the area. He got that early level 6. Lesh does not have it. And so at the first sight of any hero that's at least off their own high ground, he goes. And this is going to result in at least 1 kill over here. I don't think there's a proper turnaround to kill the Leshrac as well, but we'll see. Oh, Lesh is continuing to move in. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably going, what is BZM doing? And this is why I caution you to not care too much about what the pros are doing. This is not necessarily a risk that he takes in a pro game. It looks very evident from the Storm Spirit perspective that he's just throwing his life away. We'll play it for another couple of seconds. Okay, so Bounty Hunter was there in the area, and they're going to get this Tinker kill. If this was a pro game, and Bounty, BZM, and even Darkseer a little further up in the river, you know, if they're all communicating at the highest level and they all know each other, they might be able to get this Tinker and get BZM out. In a pub game, where you don't have your pro player allies, and again, you don't care too much about the result of the game. This guy's got a secure job on one of the best teams in the world. The pub stars have more to prove. This is one of the examples and one of the reasons why I say don't get so caught up in what the pros do in these games. They're playing with nothing on the line. They're just practicing. Pay a little more attention to some of these highest level pub stars, because they are riding on the results of this game far more. They're trying to be noticed. They're trying to be as clean as possible. And so BZM, we see, does make a mistake going for that kill. The EXP was split, by the way, because there were 3 allies in the area, so he didn't even get his level 6 off of that. And Storm's going to continue to get more EXP and even further ahead. Look, 6.5 now. So if you are looking at how to play Leshrac in this game, you are not doing what just happened over there. That is not a game-winning play. You are trying to keep yourself alive, poke a little bit, and then come back home under the tower. Wow, the brutality goes on though, and just like that, Storm Spirit is 6 3/4. He's got a lot of gold, and he's going to have himself a good game. Some things that you'd be doing at this point in a replay, you see that it's gone fairly well for the Dire, although still pretty close game. You're going to be paying attention to how a hero who currently has the advantage, continues to snowball? How do they take their advantage and turn it into something more? What's their build? Is it going to be more aggressive? How do they get engaged? What heroes are they going to target on the enemy team? If he's considering getting Bounty Hunter in these fights, is he going to have a Dust? So take a look at all of those little decisions that you would have in the game and how these high-level players answer them. What's Magnus going to do now that he has a little bit more space on the map? Where is he going to farm? Again, what's his build going to be? And how much is he going to pay attention to the rest of the map? How involved does he want to get? Tiny has been a positive story for the Radiant in this game, so take a look at Tiny. How has he been playing? What are his thoughts right here? What items does he want to go for? Really, it's a lot of the same questions for every role, but you are contextualizing it with the advantages that are in the game and how the game feels for each player. So there's already something. It's not 10 minutes yet. We're just 14 seconds away from Power Rune spawning. What does Storm Spirit do? Comes back to the mid lane, gonna get a little bit more farm, gonna get that rune, and then go for a play somewhere else on the map. Not using that TP to go for a play right away. And look, there was no vision deeper into the lane. Tinker's back to do a stack. Magnus, not really interested in anything. So Storm decides, let me get a little further ahead on last hits right now. Okay, we're going to gamble for one of the runes. It is top. It's Invis. Not the best, not the worst, but you know what? You take it because it is a rune for you. How's he going to use the Invis? All right, we see a lot of heroes top. Of course, the TP's down, so he has no choice but to walk. But again, he's far ahead, so he wants to get involved. He wants to clean up some of these heroes. His team should be on the way with him as well. There should be an opportunity here for Storm Spirit to get a couple more pickoffs. Let's see how it goes, though. There's the Dust. So he did buy the Dust for the Bounty Hunter, and there it paid off. And it doesn't look like any more is going to happen from this one, but take what you're given, take the creeps, get that farm, so you're not wasting your time standing around. And you're also taking a look at when do players decide to jungle, when do players decide to farm the neutrals. Pretty much any creep camp, when you have 4 points in Remnant, is easy for Storm Spirit, so you may as well get whatever big creeps on your walk back to any NP lane. So this is just something for you to incorporate in your own gameplay. If you have those nuking abilities, or if you have cleave, get the big camps, get the big creeps, and then go back to the wave. Unless, this would not be the same answer, however, if the creep wave was frozen around here and you saw that it was backed up with 2 or 3 enemy creep waves, because you do not want to let that get under the tower and then die to the tower. In this case, though, there is no creep clash, and so it's free to farm in the jungle. Fast forwarding now, and I think we're going to go around halfway through the game because I am curious about team fights. Let's see if there's just anything that we can point out of this replay about how players position, how they move together, etc. At a glance, you see that there is a general grouping up of cores because you're up against this Bounty Hunter, and he can give information to the rest of his team about anyone who's split off. iNSaNiA is doing his own thing. Again, I'm not a Tinker expert right now, so I'm not going to comment too much on what he's doing. But Storm, Huskar together, Magnus in the area. And let's see, do they want to make a play where they create some sort of pressure in this area for the tier 2? It looks like there's creeps on other parts of the map, so if they disperse, how do they disperse? Okay, and with the Huskar and with very limited map control, honestly, they're deciding to go for Roche right now. So what happens if a team fight breaks out? I guess you just hope for the best with Marching Machines, and you just man fight. Now, we skipped forward in this replay, so we don't know where Radiant might be right now, but it's interesting to see that they don't even need to have any heroes in sight, and yet they have the confidence and the items, obviously, and the AoE control to go for this Roshan right now. I guess nobody on Radiant wants to be walking into an RP. So there's a little takeaway for you guys. If you are on a snowball hero, you feel like you're leading the game, and there's a bit of an opportunity for something like Aegis, ping your team, communicate with your team. Hey, get me Aegis, and I'll keep getting further ahead for us. All right, I said I wanted a team fight, and so we'll just go on BZM's camera right here. It looks like he's getting as much farm as he can, knowing that he's behind. Knowing that Storm has Aegis, there's no point in forcing anything. So he's going to be as greedy as he can on other parts of the map until he gets pulled into a fight. A little bit further ahead here, he sees one of his allies got dove under the tower. Lost his Jakiro. But Radiant still don't want to take that fight, still don't want to go up against Aegis. Spread out, farm. If we lose a tower, so be it. We're just not ready to engage yet. All right, we are, again, just a little bit further in the game right now. Jakiro gets picked off again. How's he doing right now? 1-11. All right, so you know what? Jakiro, he could be playing this a little bit differently, obviously. Look, even if this guy is a much better player than I am, this is something that everybody can always learn from. Try to minimize your deaths. Don't just keep on feeding needlessly. Because we've seen pro games where even if a Storm Spirit gets ahead, it doesn't mean that he keeps on getting fed until the score is 28-15. Does it happen? Yes. But you also have much more controlled games as well. So let's just keep on watching. What does a pro player do when their support keeps on feeding? Farm, farm, farm. All right, and we are at that point now where we can no longer farm for free because we are starting to lose tier 3s. So BZM comes in. He's going to defend a little bit. It is interesting, by the way, his camera control, and again, this could be because the game has no stakes. It could be because he's already told his team, don't take that fight, let them jump on us first. But he didn't take a look with his actual camera until very late into that engagement. You saw that Tiny was almost dead by the time that BZM had his camera up and saw what was going on. So now he's coming in. Their core is dead. Darkseer has already used his wall, or using the wall right now. And it's not going to be the best fight, but still pretty good. Ooh, wow. Nice play by Meg. That looked so good with the harpoon and the skewer. That was so well done. Yeah, okay, so the outcome is actually dreadful for Radiant. And you have to wonder if that is a pub star or if BZM is just taking the game a little bit more seriously. Would he have made such a lazy engagement in that fight? So again, this is just reinforcing the point that I made, that you're not getting too hung up on what the pros are doing because they're not putting 100% of their effort into these games. These guys, the Storm Spirits, the Magnuses, these amazing players without pro teams, they're the ones who are giving it their all because they want to get noticed. So I think that's a good enough place to wrap up. We're not going to be diving into too many tactics and strategies. Hopefully that gives you a bit of a blueprint for what you're doing when you're watching these players. It's a little bit of advice on who to watch when you watch these higher level games. And I also want to say some of the comments that I get on my lower level videos are, well, I can't really use this advice because there's a Smurf in my game. I can never win because there's a Smurf. Those replays are incredibly useful as well. What you have when a Smurf is in your game is an example of somebody just stomping your competition. Rewatch your own replay when there's a Smurf, watch it from their perspective, and see what they do. See what mistakes they're exploiting. And if you copy how a Smurf plays in your games, naturally that should lead to you winning your games as well. But if you're just trying to climb from Ancient, Divine, etc., even a little bit lower in Legend, and you want to see what these best players are doing, then watch these high-level replays and take a look at the highest-level players, their builds, their items. At this point, I'm just going to be repeating myself, so I'll leave it at that. That is it for this high-level Immortal game with a couple of pro players in Europe. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave them, and I will answer them. And that's it. And bye-bye for now.